For those of you who haven't been on this before, I'm Mary Bach. I'm former district governor in District 6440. And when I was governor, the mental health initiatives was the major theme of the Rotary president, Gordon McAnally. And so picking it up in the district has led to this speaker series, a monthly presentation on all things related to mental health. John Bair is a Rotarian, and it occurred to me in a conversation with him that we had not actually covered anything with veterans for a while in mental health. So uh, invited him, and he extended it to Chappy. I think Chappy, you'll introduce yourself as a partner. I will say you might be a partner in crime, but we'll probably use something a little more correct. And I also want to say that our new district governor, Rick Rigner, convention field trip. Anyway, Rick Rigner is intending to put together some collaborative grant activity in the area of mental health in this Rotary year for as district governor. So, but with that, let me turn it over to you, John, and you can start your introduction, introduce Chappy, and where we're going to go today with this conversation. And so happy to see all of you.
Terrific. Thank you, Mary. I'd like to begin by recognizing Mary for her years of Rotary service. And for Chappy, I've told you about how Rotary operates, but it's in this group, these folks all know they're all highly tuned into moral development because Rotary, every meeting starts with or ends with the rituals and the four laws or the mottos of Rotary. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And so it's built into Rotary. Doesn't mean that Rotary, like any organization, doesn't have problems. Sometimes really unhappy things happen. But Rotary people tend to they all know service. The military knows service. The mental health people all know service, and the teachers and educators. We'd like to hear a little bit from all of you, by the way, so we can address something that relates to your interests. But I'm John Bair, 16 years at Evanston Hospital, PhD at Northwestern, 30 years at the Captain James A. Lovell Federal Health Center, program director, but mostly a researcher and educator, associate professor. And so we're going to talk today about moral injury and moral distress, particularly with veterans, but as the people who are on know that any population, and women, children, sexual slavery, and I work a lot with priest abuse. I mean, there's populations where moral injury is just all, it's all over. But we're going to focus on vets today because that's what we've been doing, and it is so important because the vets have the highest suicide rate, and Chappy will talk about that. So I introduce myself. Chappy, your turn.
Okay, can we hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. So my name is Chappy. Actually, my name is Phillip Ferrer, but I'm a biker as well. So everyone calls me Chapley or Chappy because I'm also a chaplain and a minister. So as a chaplain, this helps open doors with veterans that normally wouldn't be open to anyone. So my background, I served in Iraq. Served in the military for 12 years. My last assignment was in Iraq. Wanted to leave the service so I could see my kids grow up and walk them down the aisle. And from that, I worked with Motorola as a global project manager and a design engineer. Retired, and now I'm president of Military Outreach USA. And we're focused on the mental health issues that we speak about, that we're going to speak about. Been doing this for well over, I think, 15 years, but been partnering with Dr. Bair and learning from his experiences so we could help reduce the suicide rate of 22 plus per day.
Thanks, Chappy. Let's see. Mary, will you be okay with either sharing the screen or putting up the PowerPoint?
Sorry, let me share the screen with you.
And by the way, our approach today with this PowerPoint, this is a short meeting, so we want to just get to some pictures and tell you what we're doing, but we want to hear from you. We want to make some kind of 10-minute dialogue later on. As we start out today, Teresa, is there anything you'd like to say about your interest in this topic?
Yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit about PTSD. Generally, I've been diagnosed with PTSD, and I have not been in the military, so it has to do with my childhood, and so I'm here to learn.
Yep. Good. Well, we'll be talking about PTSD and the evolution of PTSD as a diagnosis, the evolution of attention deficit, traumatic brain injury, and how moral injury is just starting to get the clarity that it needs. As many of you will know, I'll tell you, just working at Evanston Hospital, there were suicides. Suicides in the North Shore are either depression or adolescence high. But I went to work with the VA and the Federal Health Center because I wanted to be able to do research, and they had a long history. It's where really PTSD diagnosis really came to be studied, was out of World War II. But it wasn't put in DSM until 1980, and then it was just a condition. By 1983, it actually made itself in as a diagnosis. And the parallel with moral injury is that moral injury was first identified and spoken about and written about by Shea in 2004. And all of us who work in the clinically know if you spend much time around suicide, especially in vets, the ones who kill themselves are ones who feel condemned. And you don't see that in the adolescents, you don't see that in depression, but with vets, they've either perpetrated, been victimized, or witnessed perpetration or victimization that violates their moral injuries, their moral development, their moral compass. And you all know something about moral compass that a lot of people don't from your backgrounds. And so when that happens, I can't tell you how astounding it was to me to go from Evanston Hospital to the VA and see suicide after suicide after suicide. And some are subtle, overdoses, and some are stepping in front of cars or trains. So a lot are with weapons, shooting themselves, a lot of hangings, and a lot of neglect and overdose. And then there's suicide by cop, where you take a toy gun and you go and poke it at a cop and he shoots you. And there's suicide by overdose, where you say to your friend, let's get high, and then give me more, and then you're dead. Suicide, and there's suicide by neglect and alcohol, and all kinds of suicide that Chappy knows, and you know something about it, but we can tell you that it is profoundly striking when you work with VA population. And Barbara, is that your experience?
Yes,
Barbara?
yes. And, I would say just quickly one thing that, and when I left the VA 10 years ago, it was just, we were talking more and more about moral injury, but it was still kind of difficult for me to know how to treat it. We had all the evidence-based stuff, but
Right.
moral injury was a different
Kind of
type of suffering.
We'll see if we can get a little bit into treatment, but the bottom line is that shame and condemnation, self-condemnation, are not recognizable. People can't talk about it. Societies, cultures can't talk about it. We don't talk about shame, but people have such deep shame from many things. And Mary, do you have that? Can you put up
John, I think you can do it if you want. Otherwise, I can pull it up now.
Okay, I don't see a share. I don't see a share on this screen.
Bottom of your screen. No.
Oh, there it is. Share. Okay. It's covered up.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes you have to go find it.
Yep.
Okay. So you should have control. If not, I will.
Okay, Chappy, will you talk a little bit about yourself and military outreach while I'm finding this?
You're on mute.
Chappy's on mute?
I was on mute. Did you capture all of that? Okay, let me try again. So, I've spoke a little bit about my background. I joined Major General James Mukuyama, which I'm sure most of you know of. Uh, uh, I had started a 501c3 called Stand By Me Heroes because here in this area, I live in the Elk Grove. There were suicides that were occurring, and I as a life member of VFW and other organizations, but VFW, two Vietnam vets were working with other vets who were talking about taking their lives. And since I was working with some vets that were struggling as well, we just combined our selves together to leverage one another, and thus Stand By Me Heroes began. Our focus is a one-on-one approach. Okay. We partner, yes, with the VA. We partner with and know doctors by name at multiple VAs, not only here in Illinois, but Florida, North Carolina, Texas, Missouri. And in that, most veterans do not want to talk to anybody. And when I say most veterans, I go back as far as Korean War vets, Vietnam vets, all the way up to present, because they're ashamed of being part of and witnessing. So what we do is we work with them one-on-one. We will partner with organizations. For example, we teach and train veteran service organizations, American Legion, DAV, Rolling Thunder, VFW, and the list goes on and on. We train them on a framework in working with veterans and how to help steer them toward a solution. And in that solution, we don't we develop a friendship, a strong friendship with these individuals, and we're available for their families as well. So in this, our goal has been boots on the ground. Okay. And in that boots on the ground, and I'll just give you one quick example, and then I'll give it back to Dr. Bair. I had a veteran, several veterans, but this particular veteran that was just talking about taking his life. He was married, and he had been in pain for a long time. Well, the VA tried everything but couldn't find him a solution. So finally, he called me and asked, "What do I do?" So I asked him if I would have permission to talk to his psychologist. We did. Everyone in our organization is either called John or Jane. We never share any contact information. And we were able to, within 6 months of working together with him, to help him in such a manner that one day he called me and said, "I already talked to so-and-so," that was my psychologist, "and I've decided that if I can get this level of support, face-to-face support, I think life is worth living." Today, that individual, still married to same wife, she is awesome. They adopted a daughter, and she is now a teen, plays good instruments, and they're just loving life together. But our communication, our engagement with him and the family continues, and that's how we treat all the veteran families that we work with, and in partnership with VSOs that call us for the same support.
Thank you, Chappy. Can you see me or hear me?
Yes, we see you.
And can you see my screen now, folks?
Yeah, I can see the screen.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well,
I just took over the screen. I took the share, John. Just
good for you. Okay, so you're seeing right now me,
yeah.
and you're seeing the PowerPoint.
Yep. So let me know when you need to change the slide.
Oh, okay. Let's go right. We're going to try to get through these slides in a hurry because what's more
Okay.
important as we talk. Can you go to the next slide on PTSD? Number 3. Or I can.
Are you on it? That's
You see
3.
it?
Yep.
Is that me or you?
I'm trying to, I'm not sure if it's your share or mine. I can stop my share if you want to see if
Okay, I'm using it. So
you're not you.
most of you know the diagnosis for PTSD, but we want to get to more to moral injury. So they so often go together. Um, but what you'll find is so often that PTSD is more fear-based. You know, you're in battle or you're in a situation and your buddies are blown up, and you know you're trying to survive, but you feel anger, shame, guilt, and overwhelmed by trauma. And you can get so there's the fear-based part of the trauma, but the shame-based part is the moral injury. And just so we can get to military traumas, light traumas are like learning to kill in basic, hearing about or witness or killing, and neglecting prisoners, or you're in the desert and you got prisoners and you say that I'm so pissed, I'm so angry, let them die in the sun. Running a gate, you shoot people who run a gate, and then you go up to the vehicle and you find out there's a whole family of old people and kids and dead. Executions, yeah, military executions often are like in firefights when wounded prisoners can kill you. What are you going to do? You kill them. Uh, they kill you or your team. They can make noise. They're dangerous. But killing, by and large, for many people is traumatic. For some, it's not so much. But killing gets really ugly at times. Taking target practice at somebody in the field that you have no interest in, and all they are is a civilian. Roadside bomb fears. So, in the desert wars and now in all wars, you don't know where the bombs are. So if a boy comes along with a cell phone, you shoot him because he could blow up your vehicle. He could blow up several vehicles, but just by detonating a bomb. But later, these things come back to you. And then artillery, you think artillery is clean because they tell you got the village, but then when they lay out the bodies, same thing with drones, same thing with air bombing. There's the after effect, desecrating the wounded or the dead. We don't think that our people do that, but if somebody's trying to kill you and they kill your buddy, you might do something to them, and it gets really, really, it gets a lot worse with desecrations, shooting or throwing a grenade in a hooch, and you find out who's in the hooch are the elderly and the children. Killing or fragging your own people. You hear about that in the movies, but in fact, it's not uncommon, especially if there's racial issues or if there's competition issues. And, suddenly you look around when you're out on point and you see that everybody else has gone back. And you're left out there for the enemy to kill, or they shoot you. Just ugly things happen. Killing and fragging and torturing victims. And you don't think we torture, but when you find the bodies of your people who've been tortured and mutilated, and you want to get information, in the heat of war, people think oftentimes, let God sort them out. Let God sort them out. And you know what? You come back from war and you find out that God didn't sort them out. They're in your head. And this, of course, is all with other populations as well. But let's just go through this PowerPoint quickly.
Okay, so what slide do you want to be on?
4, do you see it?
Got it?
Yeah, and this again, if we look at the brain, if we had time, we would put up some brain studies when you would see what part of the brain is activated by PTSD, and the lower brain is more with PTSD, and the higher brain is more activated by shame. We're getting to our research now. You all know about moral compass, and because we're fortunate to have in our lives been able to help other people develop moral compass, and people have helped us. Rotary does that. So this is just to show morally pleasant memories of, wherever you were in Sunday school or synagogue, or, your family, with the painful experiences and how this relates to treatment and how we work with activating things in the brain. This is just pictures of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
bring it home how real it is. This is about my early research, which I'm just going to skip because in Northwestern, we've been looking at unconscious processes for years. And I came to the VA, and it was clear that we needed to better understand what is this moral injury. When you see the shame killings and suicides, you want to do something. And so you want to understand it. So we developed our research team with a number of students and colleagues, and with General Mukiyama and with Chappy for military outreach, we have a pretty active research team. This is, in the last 14 years, we've got 15 studies. Some of these are a little bit, we don't need to talk about canine and cardiac, but we want to talk about eye tracking because we want to get to biomarkers. As we know, we didn't know what the importance of penicillin and antibiotics, but they saved, millions of lives. And we believe that if we can get at understanding shame in the brain and also the shame that people cannot speak, we can help minimize suicide. So this is an example of our eye tracker. In 2014, I got a grant, and my friends and I, Dr. Lutz, had been looking at eye trackers. And the idea is that if this machine looks like it's just a
Am I on the right slide, John? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You see the eye tracking?
No, you haven't moved the slide and I haven't moved. Tell me when you want to move it.
Okay. Now it should be on 12.
Oh.
Sorry. I thought it was going with my clicking.
I think I've got the screen right now. So.
Okay. Do you see that eye tracker and guy looking at an eye? The camera is measuring dilations and fixations and where the eye moves, because the eye is the window of the unconscious. You don't realize, you don't understand that your brain is processing things at a preconscious level by just looking. And combat vets see things differently than non-combat vets or us. And we've already done that study, and other people have done studies on this. So we're using eye tracking now to try to get at moral injury, because if we can work with people who have these deep shame issues and condemnation issues, they can't tell you. It's unspeakable. But Chappy, by the way, participated in one of our studies. He can tell you what it's like to look at these pictures. The pictures, go to 13, please. Do you see that?
Yep.
Now, if you look at that, you see a jungle and you see a beach and you see an inlet and
I think
Wait.
we're on the wrong slide.
I think, hold on just a second.
13. It's the number 13 there.
Yep.
Yeah.
John, if I can say something about this.
Sure, of course.
So one of the things that we face often with veterans is they don't want to talk about it because of the great shame. Okay. So in this, as an NCO, I had a team. My job is to train the team, to teach them, and to get them ready for combat. So before my team does anything, I do. And so what I wanted to do was, in taking the eye tracker, before I recommended it to anyone, I took it myself. It's basically things that I've been bottling inside that I still bottle because I'm still going through. One thing that combat veterans face is moral injury, post-traumatic stress, all the injuries that come with the invisible scars of war remain. They don't go away. We learn to manage it together, but the eye tracking exposed some things that I had bottled up inside, and it exposed them. Once those things were exposed, then I could talk with Dr. Bair about some of those situations. Okay, so the eye tracking becomes very important because if you look in the dictionary under crazy, that's where you find man. Women are more apt to speak to people to get help, right? Men, well, Like I say, most of when I'm asked to speak at places, I remind people if they go to Webster's dictionary and they look at uh, a jackass, they find a picture of man there because we are just so stubborn and we like to keep things in until they bottle over. So the whole purpose of eye tracking of what we do at military outreach, when General and I we speak and Dr. Bair, we speak across the nation, we do this not to give people a lesson, but to let them know this is what we're doing, this is what has worked effectively, and we can help your organization in the framework so that we can impact more lives.
Okay, wow.
So just so we can get off the PowerPoint, you'll see these pictures are more fear. They draw eyes of people who have been shot at, sniped. They will see the dark areas. The brain will go where the snipers are going to shoot you from. Whereas you and I might look at the water and the temperature and the hotel. And so this is an example of cards we would use for getting at PTSD issues for desert people from the desert wars. With moral injury, the study we recently completed, and we use different cards, and they're pretty ugly cards. They're cards that show dead and, very unhappy death, mutilated. And then they show some neutral scenes of just men or women at a combat area or on a base. And so what we're trying to do is be able to use the eye tracking to come up with a way of assessing levels of shame that it can't be spoken. And you can imagine anybody who's ever been assaulted sexually or physically, your brain will go towards if somebody raises their hand, you'll see the danger. But what we're looking for is measures of unspeakable shame. And so we believe that people who have moral injury will have specific eye tracking patterns with fixations and dilations. And we just know that we can, but we got to find it. So this study, we still was like a trial. It was a pilot study. Now we're going to get more sophisticated at picking stimulus cards. So enough on that. Let's go to 14, and then we'll just turn the.
Okay.
14 is just a few ideas on treatment. People who have shame, some cannot talk at all about it, and some want to go to a priest, and some have said that they can't go to a priest because they're beyond any forgiveness. Can you get to 14 on?
You're not seeing 14.
So working with Chappy, who's a chaplain, and other chaplains and chaplains and people on our team who are familiar with deep issues like seeking forgiveness through prayer. And this is from all religions. People have written about this, but we got to just get off of the PowerPoint so we can hear from you some of your thoughts. But the idea is that you really need to work for forgiveness. And a lot of vets like to do it in groups because they feel so ashamed, but they can look at another vet's eyes and they all know that they've all killed other people. They all know that they've done ugly things or been around really ugly things. And so in a group, it would be like the power of the group is very helpful in healing.
Well, that's true with, if I can interject there, with the mental illness people, that they get into a group and they all know they're suffering from mental illness, and they can open up to the person who's gone through it. So that's where I think the key is, to have other veterans in groups talk about what they've done, because, I was, I trained on M16 machine guns, and I could see the awful, terrible stuff that went on. I've studied war, where they found that many men fired above the men they were supposed to kill because they just didn't feel like killing them. There was a specific a sniper in Russia, and her first kill, she could aim at that one young person, and didn't feel anything. She was afraid of killing him until she remembered that the Nazis had killed her parents and brother. So then that gave her the impetus to kill him and to go kill 600 other guys.
Payback.
Wait, now, my father came home from World War II, New Guinea, and he never talked about the war. Yeah, and most men just didn't talk about the war. They just went back to work. They had very rare social services back then, and they just did their job. And it's not easy killing somebody, another human being, unless he's firing at you, and you better shoot him dead before he gets to you, or seeing your buddies blow up. Now, I've never been in that. I stayed here, but I had two sons in Iraq, one in the Air Force and one in the Army. And one of my boys was repairing trucks. And he'd drive him out to the battlefield, which he didn't bother telling us about. And the guy in front of him got his leg blown off because of a, explosive device. But no, they don't. It's hard to prepare somebody for killing. It's only the psycho people who really feel like killing. Regular civilians they're given a gun and they go through some practice, but to actually see people blown up,
Yep, you're
I don't
speaking
know how
for
you
so
can
many
solve
vets.
that.
Yeah. So thank you, Stan. Teresa, do you want to say something before you leave? She's gone.
I think you just need a lot of veterans to form a support group where they're very vulnerable and they can just tell their stories. And like you said, you're never going to forget it. It gets locked up in your mind.
That's PTSD.
Yeah. And, I've had my former wife was abused by her parents, and she puts that away in a corner. And I didn't realize that until years later, and it all started pouring out. Yeah, you just can't erase it, but you can try to control it. You can try, but you got to do it amongst people who have experienced the same thing, so you don't feel ashamed of telling them. Because in regular society, civilians, they don't have a clue of how horrible war can be, unless you see some of the pictures in World War II. And I follow that whole thing. I follow the Holocaust, and it's just horrible seeing all those bodies laying around. I could just imagine those people like that, but it is so. But they don't train military men and women to what it looks like to die like that. You're seeing heads blown off or something. It's just, you need people who have had the same experience to talk with each other. That's my philosophy.
Well, it's not just your philosophy, it's a key component. But listen, we're over time already. So Stan, by the way, we are very willing to come back and talk more in depth about either assessment or research or about
this
clinical
needs a
work.
lot of stuff like that. I mean, you can't solve it in 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah, this was just to open up the topic. And,
but in the 50s, everything was swept under the carpet. I think my ex-wife also admitted that a priest abused her, but that was all swept under the carpet because no one wanted to talk about that.
Still is.
Well, a little more so. People are coming out a little, but it's still a shameful thing. You don't want to admit that stuff.
Okay, but Stan, we want to hear from some other folks too. So let us be sure we can get to them because
I'll shut up.
Wind down.
Yeah.
No, we hear the power of, this is powerful stuff. All of us know it.
Yeah.
And it's deeply upsetting, but it's also so important. Thank you. Others people want to comment? And
one of the questions that I have, John and Chappy, is, and Stan just talked about a support group, but it feels to me like the support group really needs to be led by someone who is trained in hearing the stories and then and responding. So can you tell me a little bit about how that works within your respective organizations?
John,
Let
you
me
want me
just
to take
first
that?
call on Kevin. Are you still here, Kevin?
Yep, I see him.
I think
Okay.
Chappie would have something valuable to
He does.
add.
We know Chappie's got things to say, but we want to be sure people who are participants get
He
to at
might be
least
on the
say something.
phone, John. He might be
Yeah.
on a phone call.
Okay, Chappie, up to you.
Okay, so this is very key to what we do. This is what we do is, for example, we attend what's called the Dunkin' Vets on Dempster Avenue. This is where 4 veterans got together and they just started meeting at Dunkin' Donuts. Now it's
Oh.
grown to an average of 125. I started a Denny's Vets in Hanover Park, Illinois. The purpose of this is for us to get together and talk about certain things, right? What is key to these gatherings in working with veteran service organizations, commanders that will contact me, they'll say, "Hey, can we start a small group that just meets together for coffee?" And I do. The whole purpose of this has already been stated. As a combat veteran, I may know 1 or 2 things about combat, and many of the veterans that I deal with, they're in the same respect. So what we try to do is we try to let them know through, and I'll use the word because it's not a corny word, we love on them. When, as an NCO, my job was to eat, breathe, and live with my team and learn everything about them and teach them. It's basically the same philosophy. When we meet together, I help post, I help other organizations to develop that small group that will meet once, even if it's once a month, and talk about certain things that only we can talk about because, as was already stated, we see it in their eyes. We understand. And there are certain things that I will only speak to a veteran about when it comes to combat that I will never introduce my wife or my kids to because they didn't sign on the dotted line to serve. I did. So it's a very careful thing that we do. But from that, we have had veterans that later came to us, John 1 and 2, and told us that they had already set a date to take their lives. Their uniform was pressed and their weapon cleaned and ready. But because they got a support team to come, all of a sudden their whole lives changed, and now
Yes.
they are married and started a new life.
Yes, that's what they need. They need, you know, if you're raised in the Catholic faith, you go into the privacy of a priest and you supposedly tell all your sins, and he's not supposed to reveal that to anybody. And I mean that's
Yes,
old fashioned.
for us, this is why everyone is named John or Jane, unless they ask for a call sign. And some have asked for really crazy call signs, which are humorous, but their call signs relate to their experience. But we do this. Sometimes we'll talk about the Bears winning the Super Bowl in 100 years. You know, we figure they have a 100-year plan. Well, they're probably going to move that. And sometimes we'll talk about a major league team like the Cubs and minor league teams like the White Sox. So sometimes we'll cover subjects that have nothing to do with anything. But then
Yeah.
there are those intense times that someone, you see it in their eyes, that they'll want to talk very deep about a very particular subject within the framework of this small group. And this is where we have individuals that are trained to lead the group so that they can begin to expose that, because 80% of what we do is listen. That's all we do,
Yes.
80%.
Yeah.
And it's that love, that desire to impact lives that has helped us to be successful. And we do it from a small group perspective. We don't want large numbers because you can't get a lot of people in a large group to talk about certain specifics, right?
can you get a lot of veterans like yourself to lead those groups? You need lots of those guys to help lead, who have overcome their PTSD.
Yes, and I'll say real briefly, since you opened the door for this, we have training for individuals we call foxhole soul counselors.
Yeah. It was the same with NAMI has people trained to reveal their life to other people in the group.
Right.
And that's the lady that I help drive to her psychiatrist. She can't drive, so I help her. I drive her there. But yeah, you need someone who's gone through hell to talk with these guys or women and say, I understand. I've been through it too, but there's a door out of it. It's going to be hard. There's nothing easy about this stuff.
But hopefully we strive to keep people alive.
Yeah.
And if the VA or the hospital or the program, the foxhole soul counselors, if the word gets out, we know that it helps people.
Can I just share something? This is Mariana Zeidler. I'm now in the Waukegan Rotary. I just wanted to share a project. I just came back from the Rotary International Convention in Taipei, and I visited a project. I was invited by the district over there in Taipei to visit a hospital where the Rotary has been sponsoring a global grant to create a space to address mental health issues that this one was specifically to address mental health issues on children that had been abused. And these children come to the hospital because they have been abused in incredible different whatever. And then they depending on what the local municipalities or whatever regional officers do with the children, about custodies and so forth, some of them end up getting back to their parents or their families where they continue to be abused, or an environment where they continue to be abused. So the project over there has entered, third phase. They have been investing already like about $500,000 already in creating this space, and it looks pretty good. And one of the issues that they had was having people that were qualified actually to address those issues in these children. So the problem, but there's nobody, there's no staff basically that can talk to these children, help them, hold hands with them or whatever. One of the comparisons that I always think, the veterans, for example, they already come with some childhood experiences that they might have had. So there's a whole background that draws and feeds into whatever feelings they have, when they are serving. And when they enroll, they already may be carrying a lot of issues that draw them into this thing. So, we have to start also becoming, more aware of what impact we have on children. And I kind of compare it to the way we in the United States protect our children a lot, shielding them from whatever bad things and everything. And it's the same thing that we do about our food. I mean, we sanitize our food, we disinfect it, we irradiate it, we wax it, we spray it with all kinds of things so that there's no bacteria, nothing that can affect the child. But then when these people grow up or start traveling and go to other countries, all of a sudden they are exposed to bacteria that the body didn't learn how to defend. And that's the same effect that we have, with psychology, that we are shielded from all kinds of bad things, and we ourselves are not preparing our brains to defend ourselves when we're facing adverse situations.
So, Mariana, I think that's a very interesting topic, and we might maybe even be able to put that, again, a different kind of moral injury into one of these slots. But I think for right now, we are quite over our time for today, and I appreciate all of your contributions. John and Chappy, very, very interesting. I think people, certainly are not the experts that you are, but have an appreciation for the kind of really traumatic work that needs to be done. And I really, I want to learn more. I may talk to you about that going forward. So, but with that, I'd like to close the meeting today, and we'll see you in a month.
Thank you, John and Chappy. This is a topic for about 100 hours, and it won't.
Yeah.
The honor was ours.
Yep. And thank you, Chappy. I know you